It's all about the macro productions.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Well, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles and Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rockfin or Rumble, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks a million. We appreciate the support. We could not do it without you. You want to connect with me, macroaggressions.io is the website. You go check that out. Also, maybe get your news from Activist Post. Go over there and bookmark that. Works well on mobile. Check it out. We appreciate our sponsors. They help us make this show happen. We've got a new one, Van Man. vanman.shop is where you go. They sent me some vanilla body butter. They sent me the tallow and honey balm, which is pretty cool. The tallow and coconut soap, which smells really good. It's a pink bar of soap. It's got their little Van Man logo stamped on it. Smells good. They have tooth powder. They have peppermint aloe mouth rinse that they sent. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is a brand that's making products that are natural. The vanilla body butter, I need to read the ingredients because it's amazing. Grass-fed beef tallow, shea butter, olive oil, honey, vanilla oil. That's it. That's all that's in it. So if you're somebody who's interested in getting fantastic natural products from a small business that's ideologically aligned to us, go to vanman.shop and check it out. I mean, go take a look at and see what they've got. They've got all kinds of things over there. And if you find something that you like, the discount code is macro on your way out the door. And if you buy enough stuff, they'll give you free shipping too. So check it out. Go to vanman.shop and see for yourself. Also, are you feeling well? We're going to do a show about the medical industry here, and Christian Yordanev, my sponsor and friend, has his Live Longer formula that you should check out. If you're somebody that's dealing with digestive problems, your energy is low, it's not what it used to be, maybe you can't sleep very well, or maybe you feel like your hormones are kind of out of whack or something like that, this is Christian's specialty. You need to speak to him. You can set up a consultation with him and talk about your situation. I did this when I was 50. I did an organic acids test with him to kind of find out where I am. Sort of like, let's get a baseline, see where I am moving forward. As I get older, I'll look back and see where I was when I hit 50. And now I'm a couple years into it. I just did a brand new test with him. Again, it's like I get like a 17-page PDF document with all of my levels. It shows where I am with my health, and it's fantastic to open up the hood and take a look inside and see what's going on. So Christian's there to help you regain your health, regain your vitality, get you feeling better. what you want to do is just be proactive about this. Maybe not be so reactive. Maybe take a look. Go to livelongerformula.com and check it out for yourself and see if it's right for you. If you tell Christian that I sent you, he'll take care of you. He'll give you a complimentary test that will allow you to kind of get a look at it and see what's going on with your health. I think you'd rather be early on this. You don't want to be late. Be proactive. Be a month or two early than a day late on this sort of thing. You want to get control of your health, but nobody's going to be able to do it except you, so you have to make that decision. So go to livelongerformula.com and go tell Christian that you're ready to start feeling better. Well, speaking of feeling better and the medical industry, I'm excited to talk to Zowe Smith. We're going to talk about her book. Hey, Zoe, good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's great to reconnect with you. We had a chance to talk at the American Liberty Awards in Austin, Texas. We're coming up on almost 2 years ago for that one. It seems like only yesterday. And you've got a book that is going to get you in a lot of trouble, but those are the kind of books that we like because,
exactly. I'm already in a lot of trouble.
With the book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Website. So the most entertaining part is, my book's been censored, incredibly censored, even before I published it. But even after, so the self-publish went out on September 13th, I think was the day that I booked it. It was like a Friday the 13th. I thought it was perfect for a medical cult book.
Yeah.
And the night that it launched, the credit card processing magically turned off on my website. My web host managed to ghost me for an entire 2 weeks on any of the fixes that it needed, and it got attacked by bots that night too, all kinds of stuff. And so like the following day when everyone was going to look for the video and going to look for the book, they couldn't reach my website because my website had gone down for part of it because of the bots attacking it. Then I got it back up and the credit card processing wasn't working for the first weekend that it was out. Then I got that working, and web browsers and antivirus software are targeting my website, continuing to this day, saying that my website is dangerous and it will infect your computer with malware and viruses. So I had to actually submit tickets to like Norton Antivirus and McAfee Antivirus and put in false positive reports saying that I've ran a virus scanner on my website. There's no malware, there's no virus on my website. You're giving a false positive. And I had one of them come back and say, okay, we've removed the false positive and people can now get to your website. But Norton and McAfee, if you have those antivirus software on your website, or on your computer, you're probably not going to be able to get to my website. And that's the only place to get the book in print right now. So I realized that's a bottleneck, and that's why they attacked me so much at that bottleneck, because that made it so like the main product that people wanted, the in-print version, they can't get it if they can't get to the website. So then I have to use the platforms where I can't make as much and they can censor it.
I appreciate the irony of a false positive with regard to your book, too.
I know that you can't make this up.
Let's get it out of the way right now. What is the web address? What is the best way to get your book?
The best way to get the book is to go to thrillkillmedicalcult.com, like it says in the sign up there. I had a banner made for when I do in-person signings, so you'll see that out when I'm doing stuff. So yeah, thrillkillmedicalcult.com. That's where you can get pretty much all the stuff. All my interviews, articles, research articles are on there. The summary of the book, everything except for the audio book version. That's only on Substack right now.
And what's your Substack?
zowe.substack.com. So cool. Zowe.substack.com.
Nice. Well, you've already got everybody's attention now by talking about how banned it is. So let's get into this. What happened to you? What happened to you to make you want to write this book? Because everybody's got something. There's always some trigger that makes somebody say, I think I'm going to sit down and write a book. And then you get done writing the book and you go, my God, that was incredibly grueling work. I don't know if, I mean, at least in my case, it was, I don't know if I would have done it again if I knew how hard it was. Of course I did do it again because you get a bit addicted to it. But the idea of sitting down and writing a book, there's got to be something that made you say, I have to do this and nobody's going to stop me. So what was it?
Yeah. So after I had quit working for the medical cult and I was trying to opt out and I had gone off grid, I was learning to farm, I bought a tiny house so I could hopefully put it on property and like set myself up on like my own homestead or move it into a community of other like-minded homestead or something like that. Like I wanted, even long before I got out of the medical cult, like that was my ideal goal, was to get to a point where I'm producing some amount of my food and I don't have any debt and I own my own property and I have people around me that I trust and are supportive, like a community. That's what I was trying to create even before the pandemic. So then after that, after I'm starting to do it, I'm talking to other people in the medical freedom community, leaders in the medical freedom community, and they don't know some of the stuff that I know and they weren't able to put all the pieces together. So every person I talked to, I could share something that like helped connect different things or reveal something that kind of made them look a little further than what they originally thought, like the media or even the alternative media was telling them. And they all thought like, I have the ultimate truth and I really know what's going on. And then they talk to me and they're like, I need to learn more, apparently. So as that started happening more and more and more, I thought, you know what? Everything in my life has set me up for this. Like people have told me they really like my writing. People have told me I have a way of explaining really complicated things to people. Like in my coding job, when I was training people, my trainees would come to me and say, you were able to make this make sense to me, whereas no one else ever could. And I thought, you know what? I have the skills and I have the time right now. I might as well put everything. And then actually I lost my cousin like right around the same time. And I thought, yeah, I'm the person that needs to write this book because my voice is different. I have all the skills that I need to do this. I really never thought in my life that I was going to sit down and write a book. But the more I thought about, well, how do I get my message out there? I thought, well, no one knows who I am. If I put a video out there, like the chances of it going viral and anyone seeing it, like that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I knew you couldn't just like reach out to Alex Jones and say, hey, I'm a whistleblower. Can I come tell my story? It doesn't work like that. So I thought, well, who's ever going to listen to me? And how am I going to preserve this for generations down the road? Because like we all lived through this. So we all have some sort of perspective of what happened. And so that maybe people who live through this don't necessarily need to read the book. I think there's a lot of information in there that maybe they weren't exposed to, which is the reason why I wrote it. But more than that, like everyone has their own life experience to fall back on, but our kids maybe don't have that adult experience, and then our grandchildren won't. And so how do I preserve this information in a way where it will be preserved? And so maybe someone can squirrel it away and hand it down to them. So when their kids are asking them what happened, when they hear in school or they hear somebody out in society saying there was this COVID thing at one point in time, hopefully it's over by then. And it's just like a weird historical event that maybe was censored. And I'm 100% sure they're going to censor it and twist the story. So I wanted to provide some alternative perspective that might stand the test of time that could counteract the main narrative.
I encourage people to always buy physical books too, because we know that they can change it. They can change the digital versions. They can manipulate it, but there's something about having a tangible book in your hand or on your bookshelf that keeps you a tiny bit insulated from the censorship. And we've seen it. And just when you think it can't happen, or it's, or maybe you're not right necessarily over the target and ready for censorship, you'll find that it's happened. I was talking to Don Jeffries, who's written a ton of books. And one of the things that they did to mess with him was that Barnes and Noble didn't didn't like his book that he wrote on COVID, but they didn't take it down. Instead, they repriced it and made it $999. And he has no control. He has no ability to change it for whatever reason. So,
wow.
So, they can get you a couple different ways if they don't want this information out there. Sometimes it draws a little bit too much attention to it when they just outright ban it. But they also apparently can do something like repricing it or making it incredibly difficult to get, or something like that. So
that's incredible. I've not heard that one.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't put it past him. I mean,
I gave him a hard time. I said Don likes to gouge his audience. That's why he charges $990. He goes, I don't sell too many of them. I'll be honest with you, not at that price. So
pages better be made of gold for that.
I know. Well, your entry into writing sounds it sounds a little bit like mine too, because I had before I wrote my first book, the reason why I wrote and didn't do videos and things, it was the same thing as you. Somebody told me once, you can explain this stuff in a way that I think makes more sense, and you don't sound completely unhinged. And I was like, well, okay. And that I think translates into my writing of it, is that I can lay it out in a way that you don't have to have a ton of background to understand it. It's simple, and I don't, I speak like, I write like a normal person sort of hears it. And I had the same sort of fears that you. I was like, well, I mean, I could make a movie or I could make a documentary, but I don't know anybody. Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to, So when I wrote the first book, I had to go out and really hustle and try to talk to people and get on shows and do that the best I could. And of course, that sort of takes on a life of its own after a while. So I'm hopeful for you that that this is the beginning of a long career of writing books, not just a one-off, like I wrote it about this because I was inspired and my cousin, passed away from it. But keep going, please keep going, because we need this. And the fact that it's getting censored, I think, is probably the best advertising you can do for the book, if I'm being honest here, because everyone wants to know why it's censored. So why is it censored? What are you talking about that's so polarizing or so frightening to the publishers?
Apparently a lot of things. The number one thing that gets people, it tends to be when I go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out where we got this coding system from that I could tell was being weaponized against us. One of the things that I blow the whistle on, and I was featured in the movie Vax 3 for this, was sitting on the Vax bus and explaining the hospital protocols. Well, the hospital protocols were, if you get a positive COVID-19 test in America, they give you remdesivir, which is a drug that causes kidney failure. And they knew that they put it kidney damage. Like, we know it causes kidney damage, and we're going to do a consult and screen you and make sure you can withstand this drug. And we're going to monitor you and take you off this drug if you have bad effects. But that's not what happened. They just kept giving more of the drug and saying, it's COVID, we have to give them more of this drug, and then putting them on the ventilator, and then they just circle the drain and pass. And after a short period of time, my thinking was, if you're a doctor, you should have a pretty good idea that what you're doing isn't working for your patients anymore. And maybe you want to change up your treatment plan so that your patients do better. But they weren't doing that. They continued to follow the protocol. And the protocol, we got bonuses for diagnosing someone with COVID-19. We got bonuses for testing someone for COVID-19. We got bonuses for putting them on a ventilator. And we got bonuses for giving them every single dose of remdesivir. And I've seen the bills, and it can be up to $4,000 per dose. And some people got up to 10 doses. Some people didn't survive up to 10 doses. But I did the math, and that's almost $20,000 just for remdesivir.
Remdesivir will kill you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And they knew
that.
They knew it. Yeah.
They knew that. Even in the hospital, like, even as the protocols were rolling out, this was like, I was not a conspiracy theorist. I had my own background in deciding that Western medicine was harmful, and I was already using holistic medicine and eating clean and all that myself at that point. So I have a chapter in the book called Red Pilled. It's not why I was censored though, but that's why, kind of why I think I was able to see through to the dangers of healthcare. But yeah, the remdesivir, they had that basically in my hospital, and I don't know if they did this at every single hospital across the country, and usually they do almost the exact same thing. So I would imagine that other hospitals had some sort of semblance of this, and people just aren't talking about it because it doesn't fit the narrative. But we had a protocol where patients had to be screened. So like if you had chronic kidney disease 3 or higher, which 6 is end stage, so the higher you get, the worse it is, then you couldn't go on remdesivir. So they would screen people and say, well, if you've had like a kidney transplant, you couldn't get it. If you have chronic kidney disease, too bad. A couple other things would like disqualify you from getting remdesivir. And then they had to sign this like permission slip and see an internist and see a kidney specialist and make sure that they could, withstand the drug. This is a similar screen that they do like before surgery. Like they send you to all these consults and send you through all these like lab tests and heart monitors to make sure that the anesthesia drugs, which are also very dangerous drugs, to make sure you can withstand that. So it's kind of the same process. So everyone knew that it could cause kidney damage. And then when the kidneys start failing within a day or two of giving the drug, you would think that they would automatically go, oh, it's the remdesivir says right up front it can cause kidney damage. But no, they were like, and you can go right now. I'm almost certain I didn't look at it right before I went today, but this is in one of the presentations that I do. The National Kidney Foundation says that COVID-19 causes kidney failure. So physicians just thought, oh, the COVID's getting bad. That's why the kidneys are failing, because it's a real bad case of COVID.
Right.
I know.
So, I mean, it's like you come in with the flu and you leave on dialysis, if you even leave at all, right?
That happened to some people. Yeah, they got put on a transplant list and they were asking their family, are you a match? Will you donate me a kidney after remdesivir treatment? That happened to people.
Oh my God. So you're not working in the treatment side of things, you're working sort of behind the scenes in the coding of the you're dealing with all the paperwork and the ordering tests and putting it in a certain way so that the hospital is getting compensated for it and that the patient's getting billed for it. And I'm assuming
essentially
Medicare
my job was
involved.
like a medical librarian. I kind of describe it like the CIA of the hospital or the Central Intelligence, because it's the Hospital Information Management Department. So every piece of information from every department comes to one central place, and that it all goes into an electronic medical record system. And my job as a medical coder, like my day was I log into a system, some AI algorithm feeds me the charts that I'm supposed to work, and then I would be able to see all of the medical records for that entire encounter, from every little note to your insurance forms to everything. And I take the doctor's notes and I put diagnosis on them, and then that gets sent to insurance, and that's what tells insurance how much they're going to pay. They don't actually read the records most of the time. They can, and they ask for a way to submit those, but generally they just do it based on the codes. And if they do an audit, then they might actually decide, oh, there's something wrong with these codes, so we're going to audit this one and look at the records and see if you committed fraud or something like that.
Right.
So it was all very money driven, but my job was also to look at the census, and because like that's what would tell us how much work we're going to have. And the census disappeared at the very beginning of COVID. So I couldn't see how many patients we had across the whole network anymore, which was really strange because that used to be something that from the supervisor level all the way down to employees, we were told like part of your everyday process should be go and check this dashboard that shows how many people we have in the hospital and like kind of what the breakdown is of what kinds of cases they might be, because that tells us as coders, how can we be most effective in our work? Because we tended to go for the biggest dollar cases or the oldest accounts so that we can get everything sent to the insurance companies before deadlines and then, keep the money coming into the hospital so everyone keeps getting paid. People like to get paid. So
they turned that function off so that you couldn't see how many people were in the hospital?
Yep. And I even asked my supervisor about that, and she gave me some BS answer about, oh, you should be able to see it. I'm not sure why you can't. And I'm like, I've been everywhere. I've looked through Epic, like all the reports that are possible to run, and not a single one of them does the census. And that used to be super easy thing to run, and we're not getting the dashboard anymore. What happened? And it was just crickets. No explanation. Just dodgy.
Maybe they were busy filming TikTok videos and couldn't be bothered with that.
Possibly.
So they were trying to manipulate the fact that the hospital was not actually at capacity.
Yes,
Okay.
multiple times. Even so, like summer of 2020. This really stood out to me. Summer in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked in the Southwest, and summer is our least busy time. That's usually when we can take vacation. That's when they're trying to get employees to do busy work because we have way more people than we need in terms of the amount of work. So they're basically trying to spin their wheels until things get busier in the fall. So summer, our census had actually gone up, and I could tell because everyone was on mandatory overtime. They're not allowing us to take vacation, stuff like that. And that was very abnormal. And that was right about the time that lockdowns had been released in my state, and people were able to go out everywhere but they had to wear masks. And I think the masks were increasing the numbers of people that were showing up to the hospital. And then by then, right in August is when there was another, like the official bonus for remdesivir was released. Mm-hmm. And that's when we really, like our hospitals never came back down at that point. So like we didn't have a crisis for the first 6 months, but then in the summer is when we started to actually, like the hospital was never over full, anything like that. Because we laid off a bunch of people and we didn't even have the staff that we should have by the time people started showing up by late summer. But that was after lockdowns and people started going out and wearing masks everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So I asked my boss, why do we have so many cases all of a sudden, and they're all COVID cases, and this is normally the time when we'd be taking vacation? This is very strange. And she's like, oh no, that's normal. This is normal. And I'm like, can you show me the reports for the last 3 years so I can compare the numbers? Because my life experience does not match what you just said. And she just never responded to that email.
Have you ever seen a medicine be incentivized like remdesivir was before this?
No, never. There have been incentives, but I've never seen it pushed like that before, or that much money for one drug. I mean, even just to have a drug be categorized as a new tech, because the procedure code for remdesivir was categorized as a new tech procedure. So those are technically experimental. They're not adopted into like the main code set. They're sort of held off to the side in like an addendum section or something. And the reason they do that is because Medicare does all this like data mining, and they can tell for every procedure, every kind of inpatient stay, what the safety information is. So like they know for any pacemaker like how many days in the hospital you're generally going to be, what are the complications, what are going to be the costs of those, what are the procedures for that going to be. They know all that for established stuff. For new stuff, they don't. So they pay more because they're trying to compensate hospitals for anticipated complications for unproven technology. And it's supposed to be tech, so it's supposed to be like a device of some sort, but sometimes drugs like chemo is one I know has been in that section before, even though it's not technology. So it even struck me as odd that remdesivir, which was a drug and not categorized as chemo, was categorized as new tech. And then Gilead applied for a add-on bonus, and that's what went into effect. Their new tech add-on bonus gave them a 20% bump. That's also written into the CARES Act. It gave them a 20% bump for remdesivir.
Who would get this money? The hospital or the doctors or both?
The hospital, but I found out that doctors had a program where, so I guess to understand this, there's two kinds of doctors that can work at a hospital. There's doctors that are employed directly by the hospital and they are paid by the hospital. So that's mostly your doctors like in your ICU or any inpatient unit where people would get this. Because they didn't just give it like in the ER and have you go home. They would admit you to inpatient, which means you have to be there for a couple days, and then they do an infusion of this drug. So those would be hospitalists who work directly for the hospital. So even if there's a bonus, they don't get bonuses directly for doing stuff. They just get paid by the hospital, and they have to follow what the hospital tells them to do to get their paycheck. So, I mean, they're still incentivized. It's just not as directly as if they're working for themselves.
Gotcha.
Then there's the other physicians that are consultants and they have rights to practice at the hospital. So like they could be a cardiologist, they could be a surgeon. Generally it's surgeons that have this, where they're not directly employed by the hospital, but they have rights to practice there. Those are the physicians that they had a different bonus. They were sent like to their individual practices because usually they have buildings outside the hospital where they actually see patients, and then they'll bring patients there for one specific thing that they need the hospital facility for. So they got a separate fund, COVID fund, out of the CARES Act. And it said, if you do anything to treat a COVID patient and you're not getting enough money from reimbursement, because they made this whole thing about you're not going to get reimbursed as much unless it's for COVID. And then they created this basically a slush fund where anytime you're doing anything COVID related, you can pull from that fund and buffer yourself. And then they got bonuses for if they, I think for, I don't know exactly, but I heard something about they got bonuses. It said in like the board societies, medical boards that they have to be a part of, like especially the pediatrics one. And there's like an adult one as well. Those medical boards were pushing the protocols as well. And I don't know if they were getting directly incentivized, but they were being advised through those organizations. And that is their licensing agency. So if they don't follow those protocols, then they're not going to be able to renew their license. So that was pretty powerful there too, because there is a financial incentive if they can't practice anymore.
Yeah, of course. What about the death certificates where there was COVID listed? There'd be multiple items on the death certificate, like hang gliding accident would be number 3 on the list, right? But COVID would magically be number 1. You're like, you flew into a mountain. You're like, yeah, but you had COVID. So how did
that happened
work?
all the time? That happened. I mean, probably like 1 out of every 5 cases was something like that. Most people who came to the hospital were not there for COVID ever.
Right.
They would show up for gallbladder replacement, knee replacement, or not gallbladder replacement, gallbladder removal, knee replacement, stuff like that. General everyday stuff that we would do. But while they're there, even drug addicts would show up having some sort of episode. They would get a COVID-19 test because everyone got screened the second they showed up. And then, of course, we have this huge false positive rate. So everyone gets a positive COVID test. And the second you get the positive COVID test, they're like, oh, you're a COVID patient. Oh, you have a knee infection. Oh, we don't care about that. We're just going to treat COVID. Oh, you have a drug problem. Oh, we don't care about that. We're going to treat COVID. And that's just how it went. And that's another thing I kept asking my supervisors about. I even have a printout of a case where I could not tell that a patient was ever given a COVID-19 PCR test, but they were somehow in the record, it said outside the hospital, they had a COVID-19 PCR test. So it just said verbally, but we never confirmed it while we were in the hospital, even though we had the ability. And we treated the patient for COVID, but I couldn't tell that the patient had any reason to even be there. Like they came in with mild symptoms. None of their vitals looked bad. Their chest x-rays looked fine. Their blood work looked fine. Even their doctors were like, I can't really tell why the patient's here, but we have this COVID thing, so I guess we got to treat COVID. And so I reached out to my supervisor and I'm like, I don't understand why this patient was even admitted. This doesn't make sense to me. There's a positive there's no positive test. And we treated the patient, and they're like, well, if the doctor says that it's COVID, then it's COVID. And that's what the official guidelines say. And that's really what got me going down the rabbit hole, was this coding system was telling everybody to commit malpractice, basically. To, like, even the way that the code was designed, it's supposed to be, if it were any other virus code, like the U07.1 code that's meant to reflect COVID-19, is an add-on code, and you can't use it as the primary code. And before April 1st, 2020, when that diagnosis code came out, we were told by Medicare, by Blue Cross Blue Shield, by all these insurance companies, to commit fraud and put this unknown virus code as the first code, which normally we would get edits in our software and it wouldn't even let us do it. And it said, override that and bill it, and that way you get the bonus. And so when the CARES Act came out, then we got the bonus. And that's really why I started going down the rabbit hole of, why do we have this system that is basically making us miscategorize symptoms and diseases as COVID? And then obviously we get these financial bonuses for every part of it. And then it's not working out well for the patients. Patients are dying. And then the hospital's making tons of money. So I went down the rabbit hole, and I determined that it goes all the way up to the WHO, which has a very deep roots in eugenics. And that's the main thing that I get censored for, is when you go down the rabbit hole and you learn that not just that regulatory agency, but every public health regulatory agency and all the ones that are supposed to inspect them are all controlled, and every one of their top members that control them, and their policies, their visions, their mission statements, all of it goes back to eugenics. And it's just like a revolving door of like the same families and the same names and different organizations, all with the same incentive, basically, and I know this is triggering to some people, but
it's
after
true,
watching everything play out the way it did, I do think this was willful murder. I think this is intended to kill us. And I go around saying they're trying to kill us, because the more I go down the rabbit holes, the more I research how we got here, I can't come to any other conclusion that this is intentional, because they could have turned away. They could have changed course so many times, and they just keep going down the same path.
Well, now we know why your book is banned, because you're talking about the actual truth of this. And the eugenics component is the elephant in the room that nobody in the medical industry wants to talk about. If they were to actually do a deep dive into the medical schooling industry and its, the Rockefellers, in Carnegie's interest in that, Johns Hopkins, and what they've been doing for 150 years, it's always about eugenics. It's just that the average person who's never heard of it thinks it's insane for you to speculate, oh, you think that these people are out there trying to kill you. No, I don't think that they're trying to kill me. I know they're trying to kill me. They write books about it. They talk openly about this. It says
so in black and white in their own writing, if you care to read it.
Yeah. How did things change once the vaccines rolled out? Were you in a situation where, I hear these stories about people going in for knee replacement surgery, as you said, and getting COVID vaccines while they're out. Maybe they didn't want them. Maybe, they told somebody, I don't want this, or but it was done without their consent, or maybe they signed some form when they came in and they, didn't realize they were consenting to this. But was that your experience, to see that people were vaccinated against their will or without their knowledge?
That was not my experience. Although I quit in April 2021, so that was pretty early on in the vaccine campaign. I can already tell that it was the most dangerous vaccine we've ever rolled out, even compared to all the other ones combined. And I said that on a podcast, and now it's been proven to be true. I said it way back in 2021 when after 4 months of the vaccine being out, I was already like, nope, this is going to be the worst thing ever. And as things have rolled out, it's only proving to be more and more true.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Can you?
Well, with the vaccine, I'm glad you got out, before the vaccine real
you
rollout.
were asking about forced vaccination.
Yeah, just forced or without their knowledge.
They weren't doing that so much because it was very early on. So what they were actually doing was they were hiding that people were the vaccine status. So like we did not, like at the very beginning of 2020, the pandemic with COVID, they rolled out this COVID-19 diagnosis, which all the financial incentives came from that. And that was planned. They said it was an emergency update, and it was the first time they ever did that. But we had a whole year of Operation Warp Speed, need the vaccines, that's going to get us back to normal, and then everyone has to take it. So we reach herd immunity. We all remember that. Well, we didn't have any codes to track that. And they could have stopped the presses at any point in time and said, we need to be able to track this. The most important data point after 2021, when the vaccine went out, was to tell if people were vaccinated or not. And they hid that, and they made it impossible for hospitals to track that through the coding system, which was used to track every other data point for COVID-19. So why did they hide the vaccine status at the very beginning was a question that I asked writing this book as well, because that also came through the codes, which was part of my job. And I found that they didn't publish them until 2022, full year after that had gone out. And my belief now is that, I mean, you can watch the movie Vax 3 and see all the families coming in and explaining what happened during the hospital protocols. I think that made it to where they could target people that were unvaccinated without having any evidence, medical record evidence of their vaccine status. So no one can actually go into a court of law and say, well, you targeted this person for hospital protocols because they were unvaccinated. Because and I saw this in the records, nurses and doctors were asking patients when they came in the second the vaccine was rolled out, if it was someone that was eligible to get the vaccine, have you had the vaccine, when they would come in with something. But there was no way to actually write it down in the record. So like they're having these conversations, but it's not getting written down in the record reliably. And so like they're hiding this information. Why? And it's the most important thing. So why would they hide that?
They never hid vaccination status before, right? If it was MMR or
no, and
whatever.
They were saying we need passports and everyone needs to know your vaccine status. I mean, that's around the time where they were even talking about children have to have a vaccine passport to go to school and do other like sports things so that everyone who comes in contact with that child would know that they've been fully vaccinated or whatever. They were floating that idea, I think, in the state of California at that time. And, I know the WHO still has that patient ID, which is the vaccine passport that's still been rolling out. It's just not called a vaccine passport anymore. Now it's called digital ID. But that was the beginning of it. It was based on contact tracing. And then we knew that the vaccine was going to be part of it. And then they didn't have a way to track it. So to me, the only answer is they were deliberately hiding that information. And it did make it so they could target people in the hospital. What I noticed, though, was people who got the vaccine, they got COVID. Like the most common thing was they got COVID immediately after the vaccine. That happened over and over and over again. And they didn't want to document that the patient had the vaccine when the patient got COVID. So they would just call it a COVID case and then treat the patient for COVID. And then there might be a note in there saying the patient had a vaccine. That was the number one thing. But patients would come in, and like this was during the first part of the rollout. So not everyone was eligible. And this is when like you'd have to go line up and sign up and wait for your turn to get your shot.
Yeah.
Well, they'd come into the hospital and they'd beg for it while they were there. And they started actually giving it to people. Like at first they denied it for a little bit while there was a shortage of the vaccine. And then after 1 month, only 1 month, this was the first wave of the vaccine, and only first responders were able to get it. And they only, that this was, our hospital had the Pfizer shot. So you had to have 2, and it had to be 3 weeks apart between your first shot and your second shot to be fully vaccinated with the Pfizer. So after 1 month, the hospital announced, we have extra vaccines. Even though, like, we didn't even know we were going to get them, and it was supposed to be super short supply. And then after 1 month, we have all these extra vaccines. So now we're just going to go ahead and move up our phase map plan. And if you thought that you had to wait many more months to get the shot, you don't have to anymore. Come on down, make your appointment. And I thought, why do we have extra vaccines after people haven't even gotten their second one? And I was doing the math and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. No one actually, after they got the first one, they didn't want to go back and get the second one.
Yeah, they were dropping dead on camera or on a football field somewhere.
Yeah.
What was it about the ventilators that were so deadly? Was it the combination of remdesivir plus a ventilator? Was it the duration of time that you were on a ventilator? Was it the intensity of the like, I don't know anything about ventilators, but
there's a lot of problems with the ventilators. So first of all, they changed the protocol of when a person would even go on a ventilator. So they know that ventilators are dangerous. They've always been dangerous. That's why people, even that are specialists, they have extensive training on just how to manage a ventilator. There's even a whole field of people called respiratory therapists that's all they do is go around the hospital and manage people's ventilators and then look at the drugs and the blood work to determine if the ventilator settings are correct. One of the things that makes them so dangerous is to be on a ventilator. Your very first instinct is you want to pull that tube out. So you have to be strapped down to the bed, first of all.
Okay.
And people don't like being strapped down, so they'll chemically sedate you so you can't move. So they will give you a paralytic. That's first. Paralytics depress your ability to breathe. So that happens. Then it's also uncomfortable. So you're required to be on pain medication. The hospital I worked for used morphine. Hospitals in New York used fentanyl. And that's a normal thing. Okay. That is in the protocol that you can use fentanyl for pain associated with being on a ventilator. So you might have a patient that doesn't have a broken bone, that doesn't have like a major surgery going on, something that would warrant fentanyl level pain control. Just the ventilator alone, they think, is enough for fentanyl level pain control. And this could be the oral kind, it could be a sticker, it could be the IV kind of fentanyl. Then they're also going to give you two other drugs. I know in the UK they used midazolam a lot. We use Versed in the US, and they're every hospital is slightly different, but basically it's going to be a concoction of sedatives, paralytics, and pain meds, and it's usually about 4. And each one of those drugs can depress your ability to breathe. So it makes it more likely you're not going to come off the ventilator. And in fact, you can look at the documents that train people on how to manage a ventilator, and it says you're supposed to give them a sedation vacation. And what that is they reduce the amount of medications that you're on and see if they can get your lungs functioning better. And then they do like a test and see if they can turn off the ventilator or change the settings. And if you can oxygenate on your own, then they're supposed to pull you off the ventilator at that point. They're supposed to check frequently to see, they call it ventilator weaning. So they're supposed to check, and if you need to go back on the ventilator while they're checking, then they'll do that. But the goal is to try and get you off. And they usually do that within 2 days. They stopped doing that with COVID. And they immediately put people on the ventilator. Like, you used to have your oxygen level down to about, I think it was like 80% was the cutoff before you'd be put on a ventilator. But the NIH, in their protocol, it said that anyone that's breathing could give you COVID. So because infection control, now everyone had to be put on a ventilator a lot sooner. So people could be at 92% oxygenation, which is normal, and be put on a ventilator. And then, this is the other thing people don't talk about, that people don't know about ventilators, is so there's different settings that can push oxygen into your lungs. If they have the oxygen set up too high or that pressure set too high, there's two different settings. There's a PEEP setting, and the one I was watching was the FiO2. The FiO2 That's one of the pressure settings that makes the oxygen go into the lungs. When it's set at 100%, it pushes too much oxygen into the lungs, and you can actually get hyperoxemia, which shuts down your organs and kills you.
Okay. So was there any financial incentive for being on a ventilator?
Yes, about a 20% extra. Hospitals got, it's kind of hidden in the CARES Act. It has to do with the inpatient payment system, but basically being put on a ventilator gives you the highest tier for their payments. And I think there was a hidden bonus there. But the math works out to about 40,000 to I think up to 60,000 per patient just for the ventilator. And hospitals were provided ventilator machines through the CARES Act in addition to that. So they didn't have to pay for the machinery. That's one of the things that normally that would be a huge expense, and there'd have to be quite a few patients on that ventilator to pay them back. So there's kind of another way to buffer hospitals because they're getting this stuff for free, and then any use is pure profit.
What's the most, let's just call it a bounty on a person. What's the most the hospital could make on one person who came in and they decided that this person had COVID? You could get them on remdesivir, you could get them on a ventilator. What was the, if best case, meaning worst case scenario for the person, but best case for the hospital, what were these people worth to them?
Between 80K and 200K per head on average, but you could make, I've seen bills 100.5 million.
Good Lord.
Some of these patients were on a ventilator for 2 weeks straight before they passed. Some patients were there for 30 or 40 days. I'm a consultant on a case where they murdered this woman's daughter over 40 days, and that bill was almost $1 million.
And there was no pushback or argument between the hospital and whoever was going to pay them. They knew they were going to get this money.
There was no pushback. I've even spoken to the insurance company on that case, and this was beyond their timely filing deadline, but they would have been able to recoup so much money. Normally, if before COVID was a thing, if I had gone to an insurance company and said, you overpaid this hospital by 100K or anything like that, they would have been all over it. They would have stumbled over themselves to break rules just to go and get that money.
Yeah.
But I talked to the insurance company about this particular case, and they're like, oh, no, timely filing. It's been too long. Oh, and the patient died. So yeah, there's like extra stuff we have to do because the patient died. So sorry, we can't do anything. We don't care.
What was the psychological toll that this took on the people that you worked with? I mean, were they on board with this? Did they not connect the dots? Did they not care? Like, were there, I'm assuming there might have been a couple psychopaths that probably loved all the action that they were seeing there. But for normal people that you work with in a big hospital, somebody else ever talk? I mean, do you ever have these conversations with people that you worked with and say, what are we doing here? Like, what, this is bad. Like, we're murdering people for money. And I don't feel like I want to be in any part of this. Was it known? Was this, or was everybody so psychologically traumatized inside the hospital that they didn't dare question any of this?
That's really why I call it the cult, is that there's always been this like invisible culture that you cannot question certain things. Like vaccines is one of them, the use of antibiotics, contagion theory, all of that are things that you cannot question, or you will get ostracized. People will isolate you. They'll make fun of you. They'll drag your name through the mud, just any sort of social slander, isolation, distancing that they can, all the way up to removing your license, firing you, and all of that. So I was very isolated as a medical coder because I didn't work physically like in an office with other people where I could just walk up to them and whisper. Everything was electronic and you can track all of that. So even if I emailed someone a question or even like Skyped them something, I knew that the IT department could pull that and then use it against me. So there was this fear that you can't really talk to your coworkers because then there's going to be a target on your back. So outside of work, like during the furlough time, the first 6 months of COVID, which is when we were on furlough, that's when they're calling everyone healthcare heroes and hospitals are overrun. No, they were so empty. They were laying people off and we all had furlough at the same time. This is multiple hospitals. So my friends and I, we created a hiking group because we all had the same time off all the time. A lot of time to kill all of a sudden. And we all go out and we're hiking and we talk about what's going on in our different hospitals. Some of them worked in the ICU, some of them worked in the OR, some of them worked in, like in lab sections. And they all said, like, there's no one there. And these infection protocols are dangerous. They hurt patients. I don't understand why we're doing this. But after a very short period of time, when they were asking their own questions, they were already like, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what we're doing. But then very short period of time, they all at the same time started saying, well, we don't know enough about this disease, so we're just going to follow orders. And then like one of them even started wearing a mask while we're outside in the sun, walking around like more than 6 feet away the entire time. And then I was told that I couldn't show up to hiking anymore because I was talking about stuff that was triggering them, asking questions, trying to get them to critically think about stuff. They all kind of decided at the same time, like you're not even allowed to ask that kind of question. So I was just disinvited. So I didn't even get to the point where I could ask other people about the ventilators. At that, I did try and email some people that like outside of work in a personal email, and they were concerned that patients were dying on the protocol, and they couldn't really tell what it was. They're not the type of people that would go against the grain. So that's really as far as we got, was just kind of conversing that, yes, these protocols are killing people, and yes, this is happening nationally, and this is worrisome, but that I don't think they're mentally capable of like seeing beyond that point. I think the cognitive dissonance set in at that point, and they couldn't fathom that doctors and nurses would become murderers in their own hospital and that they would be accomplice to that.
Yeah.
So I think that was too much for them.
When you left, before you left, was there any sort of pressure put on you, any sort of retaliation after you left? What was the response, or did they just try to pretend like you didn't exist?
They kind of tried to pretend like I didn't exist, like show me the back door and get me out of there before I can cause any damage, which was really strange because I had worked for this hospital network as a supervisor before, and the job they gave me on day one was, we want you to target these 2 problem people and see if you can have them terminated. So like I spent my first year of a supervisor like trying to walk these 2 people down the disciplinary path like they told me to, and learning all about that. And there were other employees that were problem people that did really bad things, like change the names on or write the wrong name on a birth certificate, like something that could affect someone for the rest of their life. Really bad things. Financial fraud that I knew was going on, that I personally reported to Medicare myself. And those people got told, you're allowed to be here. HR was on their side. Like the one who messed up the birth, I think that person finally got terminated, but it took like 2 years and like near constant surveillance from like multiple managers with HR being involved. It's like they don't fire people. And then I would even be told, call this person, offer them more money, offer them whatever vacation package they want, because we want to keep any employee that we've already trained, because we don't want to try and find someone new. So keep bad employees here because we just don't want to bother trying to get new people. So when I put in my resignation, I'm like, okay, I found a farm job and it wasn't going to like totally pay the bills. But I thought, we're on mandatory overtime right now. We're required to work 50 hours a week. This is really going to put them in a bad spot. And they're on a hiring freeze. So they can't hire anybody else. So me leaving is going to, it's going to affect them. So I put in my letter. I will continue to stay on as per diem. until you can find a replacement. I do have another job, so I do have some time commitments, but I can give you up to 20 hours per week going forward. And I thought for sure they're going to take me up on that. And they're probably going to try and get me to work more hours than that if they can. So I sent in my resignation letter. And I mean, I expected like fires to go off. And I get an email the very next morning. Oh, thank you for your lovely letter. Would you like to leave this week? And I was like, wait, what? Because
where you offer me more overtime.
I got a phone call at home from like multiple people going, no, you can't leave. And this time I get an email, not a phone call, an impersonal email. Yes, we'll accept your resignation. No pushback whatsoever. And please leave as fast as you possibly can. And then they made sure not to send the announcement to the rest of the team until like the last hour, like after they had already shut off my access to everything. So I couldn't even respond to emails if people were to reach out to me. So like they were trying to get me out of there before I caused any more damage. That's exactly what that was.
Not that you would ever want to go back and work for that in that industry, but do you think that they put a mark on your permanent record?
Oh yeah. I'm almost certain that they would have. I mean, although there's ways around that. I mean, if the HR department doesn't know what to look for, and I haven't gone back to test it, so that's something. Although I am working some expert witness cases, and I'm wondering if I became a private auditor, like if I don't even have my credentials anymore, but if I went back and got auditing credentials, and I'm an expert witness on cases, and I'm working for myself, then I can walk into any hospital and say, "Give me all your records. Here's my certification." And then I'm actually helping people fight back with malpractice cases. So that might be the only way that I would go back and work in the industry. I'm considering it like a spy.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know that was even a thing until I met this lady years ago when I was working in real estate, I sold a big, like multi-million-dollar mansion, like penthouse condo to her. And I was like, what do you do for a living? She's like, I have a company that finds errors in medical billing. And we go through that and we go through all the coding and there's always something wrong in it. And we find it and whatever we're able to save, like we get a cut. And I was like, oh, gotcha. I didn't know that was a thing. And she's like, it's such a thing that you can go start a business and all you do is go through and find the mistakes and you can make enough money to buy one of these condos. I was like, damn. So, was that your experience too? Is there a lot of fraud kind of baked into the coding system?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yep. They pretty much tell you in every interview that your job as a coder is to get the hospital as much money as possible without actually committing fraud. So like you're supposed to know all about the regulatory stuff so that you can follow all the rules. But I mean, every single piece of information that you get from all of these organizations, including Medicare, this is how you milk the system. So, I mean, if you're a good coder, then you know your way around everything. Maybe you can commit fraud and make it not look like fraud.
Wow. What a dirty industry too. An industry that is the number 3 leading cause of death in America, but is thought of by the general public as like American healthcare is above reproach. People come from all over the world to be here. Well, maybe if I get hit by a bus and I get taken into the emergency room and, you got to put my leg back together, maybe it's a good place to be. But boy, I just don't believe that at all. I mean, I know so many people that have had horrible medical hospital experiences, including one of my best friends whose dad went in for a routine surgery and they killed him on the operating room table. So, I just don't have much respect for the American medical industry. Never did. I mean, haven't for a while. But after COVID, what a stain on the entire industry of medicine. Watching that.
Honestly,
how do you
I
feel
kind of think
about it
that's
now?
a blessing in disguise.
Probably.
Because now people can see how dangerous it was. Because it was dangerous before COVID. Like I remember before 2020, one of the chapters I write in the book is called Red Pilled. My red pill was I went through this chronic disease. I had multiple surgeries. I've come to find out they put a device in my body that I didn't know about that could have caused my chronic pain condition. And maybe I could have avoided multiple surgeries, but it was the surgery that found the device and finally got it out of my body. But I wasn't able to get any, I wasn't able to bring a malpractice suit. Even the AMA, I wrote to the AMA and said, this is a physician that did it, and I can't go after you guys legally, but can you at least issue him like a nasty gram or something that this happened? Because he's like a teaching doctor and he's teaching other doctors to do this, and this is what happened to me. And I just got nope, it's been too long since it happened, so we don't care, from the AMA. So I realized, wow, that this whole entire system, the only answer, they're not trying to cure anything, not just the disease that I had, because I came to a point where I realized that life is pain, and the only thing that they have to offer me is cutting or drugs, and both of those things make me suicidal. That was how bad it was. So I was like, okay, I definitely don't want to keep going down this path. I've exhausted everything I could do in Western medicine. I even had a friend who was a doctor she did a residency at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and where the coronavirus came from.
Yeah, Ralph Bragg.
And she said that, I agree, you have exhausted everything you could possibly do in Western medicine. And I said, okay, well, so now I'm going to go see a naturopath. And she goes, nope, that's quackery. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, what else am I supposed to do? You just said there's nothing else Western medicine has to offer. And then I learned you can heal yourself through all these other alternative methods that Western medicine will never, ever, ever even tell you about. And everything that Western medicine offers you, being a drug or cutting, is going to do damage to something else, even if it helps the thing that they're trying to help. There's going to be downstream effects because that is not part of how Western medicine is wired to work.
Yeah.
So when I realized that, I'm like, okay, well, everyone that walks in there, it's their choice to go and see someone in Western medicine, but at least they have the option to go into natural health. And so now I think people are more motivated, they can see how dangerous some of these Western medicine procedures are. And at least that's an eye opener for them. And I'm kind of grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the increased amount of distrust. I think that needs to keep going up. These are rookie numbers.
Just pump them up. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, it's a horrible era that we went through with it. It's an embarrassment for the medical industry. But if nothing else comes of it, at least a nice segment of the population is asking questions about whether this is actually an industry that has your best interest at heart, or whether it's just about the money. And there's so many mistakes that we're now finding out, so many things that we were told were set in stone, and then you find out later that it's not actually, maybe we made some mistakes, or mistakes were made, or it was the fog of war, the fog of the COVID war, and we didn't know what we were up against. Yeah, you did. I've watched Event 201. You knew what you were doing in advance. Yeah. This was not accidental. This was part of, and from your standpoint, you are just itemizing the coordination. This again, it's they would normally be rooting out this sort of fraud, but instead they were incentivizing it. That had to have come from the top. And I'm almost willing to give the nurses and doctors who are following orders a little bit of leeway here, because their licensing was on the line, and they were being told to do this by people who's, they would say, well, it's above my pay grade to know why I'm supposed to do this and why I'm not. I do kind of put them in that we were just following orders at the Nuremberg trial too, which is not an excuse. But
that is a really nuanced point. That's a conversation that comes up with me a lot too. At what point do you call them a murderer versus just an order follower? And I don't know if there really is a difference. I think for me, there has to be some sort of redemption for people who have seen the error of their ways.
Yeah.
I hope for that for myself, because I was in it for a while before I realized what was happening. So I hope for that for myself. I hope for that for people like Dr. Paul, who was a pediatrician and, had to give out vaccines and, gets a lot of hate mail for having done that, even though he's done a whole lot of positive work in exposing the dangers thereof. So that's a really, really tough question. Where do we draw that line? And I guess I am really hoping that more people are open-minded like you to see that not everyone did it maliciously, and some people, at least if they've seen the error of their ways, will never do that again. And those are people that I would be more likely to trust, with my healthcare at least, than the ones who were just following orders and are still willing to keep doing that.
I wish we didn't have to have this conversation, but I'm glad we did. And I'm glad, and I think that people that hear this and want to dig deeper into the details, they need to get this book. Again, what is the best place for people to find it and to support your work?
Best place to get it is thrillkillmedicalcult.com. One more time, it's thrillkillmedicalcult.com. You can also get the audiobook. I'm doing an audiobook promo right now on Substack, which is zowe.substack.com, zoe.substack.com. For $5 a month, you get the only thing behind a paywall for my Substack is the audiobook. So I'm releasing one chapter at a time, one per month. You get the audiobook and mixed media, like videos and stuff that you don't get in the print version of the book or the e-book version. And there will be an audiobook coming out that's kind of your premier access to the audiobook. Chapter 4 is about to go out, and I do pull the older chapters off, so get it while you can. It also helps support my work, so I definitely appreciate any and all of my paid subscribers. You guys are the best.
You made a very powerful decision to walk away from this, and not everybody can do it. Not everybody has the heart to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you for recognizing when you don't want to participate in this anymore. I know that you take a financial hit by doing that. So listen, hey, anybody out there, if you think this is a book that is right for you, or if there's somebody in your life that isn't quite understanding this and you want to send the book to them, please consider doing that. That's Zowe Smith, everybody. Check out her amazing work. Go follow it. Go subscribe to her Substack. This is the best way for us to kind of keep in touch. We got to have this direct pipeline. And if you want to connect with me, speaking of direct pipelines, you can go to macroaggressions.io. Please bookmark activistpost.com and naturalblaze.com. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.